Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Right Place, Right Time, a not too woo woo podcast. My name is Betty, your host. We're going to continue to unpack plot twists and curveballs that Mama Uni has thrown at me for character development. Today's episode is called Jump First, Figure It Out Later. Or, like I like to say, figure it out as you go. If I look back at the series of events of my life, I'm like, wow, I really did just take leaps of faith, not knowing what they were going to get me into, where it was going to lead, or how I was going to navigate it. But I always trusted that I would eventually figure it out along the way. And I think for me personally, I thrive in uncertainty. Like when I am in discomfort, that's where I am the happiest because I feel like I need a challenge. I need to grow. And those are the moments, those are like the most transformative and pivotal moments for me where I have so much character development and they're very uncomfortable. Like, I'm not saying that I'm enjoying the process, but I feel like I know that the outcome is always going to lead me to something greater. Even if I don't know what that is at the moment, I always trust that I will get to where I'm meant to be. The key really is to listen to your intuition, right? Like, I don't just take leaps of faith because I'm easily influenced to. I really do them thoughtfully, but still spontaneously. I think about what's the worst thing that can happen. And if it's not so bad, then I, take that leap of faith. If it is, then I reconsider. Today, I want to break down all of the moments that I think were very formative, where I took those leaps of faith. And had I not had that tenacious spirit, I wouldn't be where I am. So I'm really grateful for my younger self and even my current self for taking those leaps of faith. It all makes sense looking back now. And like I said, it didn't make sense at the time, but it didn't need to. And that's the key thing for me. Okay, I'll go through these as quickly as possible. Preface by saying that they're in chronological order. And not necessarily all of them are big leaps of faith, like some are little, some are big. So the first one that I can recall is when I was 9 years old. I lived in an apartment complex. I made a friend in my complex, and I think she was 7 at the time. We both needed extra cash, and so we decided to start a car wash business, which I did talk about on episode 1. But we figured it out. Like, we had no idea what we were going to do, but we figured out supplies, we figured out pricing, we figured out payment. We went door to door. People trusted us. We washed cars, and that essentially kickstarted our entrepreneurial spirit. Now I can thank my younger self for taking that leap of faith, putting herself out there, and learning how to execute something that she wanted to do. And then the next one is when I played soccer. All of my friends in high school played a sport, whether it was softball, volleyball, cheer, soccer. Everyone played a sport, and we were like, we should try out for things. I did. I tried out for a few things, but it wasn't until I made a friend who had played soccer her whole life, and she's like, you should try out for soccer. I had never played soccer. I didn't even understand the basic skill set that you needed, but I was so determined to learn and be on the team with them because it's high school. Like, you want to be with your friends. So I applied myself day after day after day after day, learning how to play soccer in my teen years. And I tried out for the JV team in high school. And out of like 50 people who tried out, only 6 made it. And I was one of them. And I was so proud of myself for figuring it out and deciding to just go for it and not think too much into it. And then it led to me playing AYSO, and I then played co-ed indoor soccer. So that was really fun. And those are really good memories that I have. And I'm just so grateful for my younger self for putting herself out there and just trusting that she could do it. The next leap I took, which honestly ended up being one of my favorite leaps ever, was adopting a pit bull. And not only was I the girl who would bring home animals, bless my mom's heart, she was so patient with me. She would not be the happiest with me, but one day when I turned 18, I was like, I want a big dog and I want it to be a pit bull. Not really understanding the sentiment and stereotype and restrictions and legislations that came with being a pit bull owner, but I knew again that I would figure it out, and I brought her home. I obviously learned a lot about that specific breed, especially in that time period. I mean, that was 15 years ago. It was really challenging and really difficult, but again, I trusted myself enough to figure it out and like get through it, and I did, because she became my soul dog, my best friend, my protector, my love. Like, she was perfect in my eyes. She touched so many hearts and so many people, and that is one of my proudest accomplishments, is raising her. And it taught me structure and responsibility. I mean, she depended on me. I had this other little being depending on me, and truly I loved all the responsibility that came with that. I'm so grateful to my 18-year-old self for adopting her. In that same time period, I decided to move out at 18, not because I was going to college or because I needed to. I just figured it was time for me to spread my wings and move out. I really wanted to experience that at an early age. I knew that it would teach me more responsibility about budgeting, about financing, like working, paying bills, cleaning, caring for a home, all of that stuff. I wanted to learn that. I don't know. I think I just wanted to like cosplay an adult for some reason. Like, I was like, oh, I want to like be, in my own home and like cook my own meals and go grocery shopping and like do all those things. But why I was eager to do it at such a young age, I don't know. I am grateful though. I learned a lot about being independent and looking out for myself, and I never looked back. The next leap was in college, and this one is interesting because again, I wasn't really in a financial position to do it, or necessarily even with work, because I had to work full time during college, but I really wanted to experience studying abroad. I'd learned so much about it and I saw the benefit of it. So I really wanted to give myself that opportunity. I didn't know how I was going to make it work with taking time away from my job or financially, or I had my dogs at the time, but luckily everything lined up. All of my ducks were in a row, and I was able to take a trip to Rome, where I was there for only 3 weeks. It was a winter session, but to me that was more than enough, because I didn't even think studying abroad was in my future. I was determined, and so I applied myself to making it happen. That was probably a very formative time in my college experience, because I didn't have a traditional college experience. I had to like work and I had to do internships, and I was a lot later than a lot of my friends. I'm so happy that I decided to do that for myself, because I immersed myself in a new culture, traveling with strangers and making friendships. And that again reinforced that I really could figure things out even if I didn't have all the necessary tools that I needed. I've always struggled with social anxiety, so traveling alone for 11 plus hours to somewhere you've never been with people you don't even know, that was so formative for me. There was a part of me that feared, like, what if my anxiety flares up? What if I get homesick? I ended up enjoying it. I ended up navigating it, and I'm really grateful to my younger self for learning so much about herself through it all. The next leap of faith I did is a literal leap. I jumped out of a plane for my birthday, and I made all my friends do it with me. I'm just kidding. They were willing to do it with me, and honestly, great friends. They were so down, and we all just flew out of a plane. Like, we went skydiving, and that was so freaking thrilling. It was such an adrenaline rush. It was so much fun. The learning there is like trusting your instructors and trusting other people, because my life was really in someone else's hands, and I had to trust that everything was going to be fine. So kudos to me and my friends for putting ourselves out there and doing some scary shit. Okay, I talked a little bit about this on my TikTok, but the next one is learning to be alone after being in an 8-year relationship. And then before that, a 6-year relationship. Leaving that comfort zone that I was in and moving to a whole new city, which I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't know who I was going to meet or what I was going to do here, but I just wanted to experience it. And granted, I did have a little bit of commitment issues in the beginning of signing a year lease. That was from fear, and I think sometimes and most times fear does play a part in my thoughts, but I'm able to curve it. I'm like, nope, keep going with your initial intuitive thought that you need to do this for yourself. You need to move to a new city, put yourself out of your comfort zone yet again and learn more about yourself. And I have learned so much about myself. It's been probably the most formative time. It forced me to create a new routine. I left familiar places, familiar people. I've learned a lot about like relying on myself, self-soothing, being more independent, and I really, really like love this era of my life. We're thriving over here. The last one, which I talked about on episode 1, is me quitting my job. I know I said the last one was my most formative, but this one probably is the biggest leap I've taken. And that is because I've risked stability, I risked a paycheck, I risked a lot of things. It was worth my mental health. That's where I weighed my options and I said, I don't have to keep putting myself through something and somewhere I don't belong. And it's made me reflect inward and be more introspective than usual. Who am I without this? And what do I actually want out of life? I don't think I would have done it had I not been in the circumstances I was in. Right place, right time. Everything leads me to these decisions. I really tried to stick it out as long as I could, but I came to a place where really the only option was to walk away. I've learned so much about myself. I'm still learning so much about myself. I'm finally able to put that energy back into myself so that I can blossom into whatever it is I meant to blossom into. Not the easiest decision. It's not something that I would necessarily recommend or push someone to do unless you felt comfortable. For me, all of the moments that I took leaps of faith throughout my life led me to feel extremely comfortable and confident in this decision. Obviously, there was a lot of back and forth in my head whether or not it was the right decision for me. Once I got to the point where I knew it was the only decision for me, I felt so sure that I would figure out whatever I needed to overcome this phase and persevere. And I'm also okay with it not working out and falling. And I think to tie it all together, taking leaps of faith don't always mean you're going to be successful in whatever it is you choose to take that leap in. They might not be the right choices for you, or there's going to be a lesson to be learned, but nothing ever happens to us, right? Everything happens for us. So even the plot twists or the curveballs within those decisions are meant to be there for a reason. They're meant to show us something, and they're meant to lead us in a direction that we're supposed to go. Being open to all of that is what's going to lead you to exactly where you're supposed to be. I don't really know where exactly I'm supposed to be, but I'm along for the ride and I always have been, clearly. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to share these stories with you guys. If I think of more, I'll let you know. My memory's not that great, so this has actually been helping me remind myself of all of the things that I've done and accomplished and overcome and surpassed and put myself through in a very healing way, honestly, too. I'll continue to share these with you guys, but I love you so much. Subscribe, hit that bell, do what you gotta do. Bye.